You're listening to Achtung, Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Well, hello and welcome to an addendum, dear listeners, an addendum edition to the one we did the other night with Aaron and Michael. Both Harry and Mike Hayden sent me voicemails which they hoped to get included in the show, but I'd done the edit by the time I received them. So I thought I'd do a little addendum to the discussion we had the other night. So I'm going to run both Harry and Mike's pieces, both quite nice pieces in their different ways. I'm going to run them now, and then I will come back to you straight after we've had a chance to listen to Harry Warren and Mike Hayden. So away we go, chaps.
Hello, listeners. Jiri Skamak here. Excited for the season. I think the first point is we're going to be back, which is fantastic. Starting with the away game at QPR, which I'm sure many of you will be going to. I expect it's going to be a pretty good atmosphere down there. I'm sure it will sell out. So looking forward to that. We've got a pretty poor record in recent years at Loftus Road. It almost feels like a bit of a bogey place for us, but there's always been quite a few goals. So let's hope for an entertaining game and hopefully a win to kick things off. Can't wait to get to the Den. It's a shame it's a Carabao Cup fixture, I suppose the first time, but hope for a good crowd there, and I would expect the Blackburn game will be a sellout, which is going to be, fantastic. With the team, I think we've done some good business. The good thing that how it's done, I suppose, is the squad is bigger now. We really struggled last season when we had a few injuries and, no strength in depth. And I think the side itself actually has, some quality, I suppose, across, You look at maybe Kiftembeld or someone who might not actually start for us, but would be a very strong squad player, for example. So I think there's a few more options like that. I suppose I'm a little surprised we've not seen a couple more departures. I still think we could see Bodvarsson and maybe Thompson move on. So I would rather keep Ben, but I think he needs to make a decision. He's not going to be a starter. And at his stage in his career, does he want to go and find first-team football? That's a decision I suppose he's going to need to make. And obviously, we've done Bodvarsson to death. Can't believe he's still there, really. But hopefully someone... Is there anyone out there that would like him? Anyone listening to this? Perhaps someone, Tesco, perhaps, would they be interested in him? A good shelf stacker, not a good goal scorer. So, looking forward to it. And I think, squad's better. I think prediction-wise, I suppose we've got to go for it this year. It's Rowett's third season. He sort of had this kind of 3-year plan for the playoffs. So, I'm hoping we can crack into the playoffs, if I'm honest. That said, I won't be disappointed if we finish sort of 10th and above again. I think... in some respects, the size of our club and budgets, that is an extremely good performance. But I would like to see us go for it this year and hopefully kind of sneak in those playoffs and we'll see where we go from there. But thoroughly excited. I've rambled on long enough, so I will talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Well, hello, dear listeners. Block 45 Lion, the Moni one, here on the eve of the new season. Interesting times for Millwall Football Club. A season with much promise. A season that has to matter, I feel, for the club. I feel the most important thing is us as a fan base. We are a massive asset. We can be a hindrance, but we are a massive asset. At times, we need to make the Den horrible. And you know what I mean by that. We need to make the Den horrible every single week this year as payback for missing last time. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference to the way we play. It makes us a huge difference to the way that we get points. Because although not being Gary Rowett's biggest fan, I will admit that he is a very good away from home manager. And will pick up more points away from home than than many managers in this division. So it'll be massive for us to be back. Hopefully, a lot of you are going to the QPR away game. I will be there, as will my brother, as will Mr. Scanak. Hoping to meet up for some beers. Hopefully see a few of you there. I'm not going to the Carabao Cup game because I think 18 quid is taking the piss. So I will be there for the Blackburn home game, which will be emotional in a weird way for a lot of us. I'm assuming, by logic and assistance, there will be people that would have been there that aren't, who are no longer with us, that won't be at that game, and it will be moving. It will be an occasion that none of us will ever forget. I haven't been back in the Den in any capacity since the West Brom defeat back in March of 2019. So yeah, looking forward to being back to my first love, Millwall Football Club, and it will be the same for many of you who are listening to this. And what's the right word? I think you don't know what it's got till it's gone, and Jesus Christ, was my life without meaning, without going to the Den on a Saturday, and that is scary and yet reaffirming at the same time. So come on, you Lions, come on, Gary Rowett, give me my dream, give me my the thing that I want more than anything else in this world, which is Millwall to make the playoffs, get promoted and end up in the Premier League just once in my lifetime. Just give me once. What did the Smiths sing? For once in my life, give me what I want this time, and that is all I want. So, come on, you Lions. Here's to a good season.
Achtung, Millwall.
Welcome back, dear listeners. I quite like those two pieces. I wanted to get them included and put out because when people bother to send me content, I like to get it out there, so to speak. Would you like to send me some content, dear listener? Would you like to send me a voicemail? I'm more than happy to get voicemails from people. I know we have the answer phone, which many people don't seem to like using. That's the 0208 144 0232 number. That's an answer phone. I don't answer it. It goes straight through to the machine. But one or two use it. Barry's one of our Barry Moon's one of our regular callers, and I appreciate everything that he sends us. But if you'd like to send me your thoughts or post-match analyses on a game by voicemail, it's it's really handy. I'd welcome it. I'd love to hear from more listeners. Get in touch with me. I'll send you my mobile. I don't want to stick my mobile number out willy-nilly online. I hope you appreciate that, dear listeners. But if you do want to send me anything, any content after the game, and just a voicemail on your phone, then WhatsApp it over to me. Works fine and dandy. So get in touch with me via the Twitter feed. Direct message me or email me if you like, achtungmillwall@gmail.com. Maybe 1 or 2 minutes worth tops. A minute and a half is probably best of anything that you want to get off your chest. But if you want to send it to me regularly, you are more than welcome. It's great to hear from people. It's great to be looking ahead to the new season, as Mike touched on it and Harry touched on it in their pieces. I'm really looking forward to the return of the Den. It will be 18 months or so since I last walked away from Zampa Road. It was a rainy night. I think it was Bristol City, the very end of February, the week before we went to Nottingham Forest and won 3-0, and then the whole world, shut basically. And that was that. So a year and a half without any return to the Den. It's not the longest I've never been to the Den. I kind of fell away a little bit in the early 80s for personal life took over slightly. I didn't go much, but obviously the fact that Mill was still going and existing meant that you could go, but chose not to. I think there's a different mindset. I kind of missed out on a few years from about 83 to about 87-ish, really, due to, as I say, various reasons which I won't go into on here. So that was a long period where I didn't go much, but I retained my sense of Millwallness, and I called myself a Millwall supporter. And I had the ability to go if I chose. I think there's a lot of seasons back then that were made all ticket, and it made it difficult. I'm making excuses for myself, dear listeners. I didn't go much, so up until maybe the promotion season for a few years, I wasn't about much. So yeah, we're back to the Den on, for me, August the 14th. I'm not at QPR. I'm away. Going to miss the Caribou Cup game at home to Portsmouth. I will be back at the Den on August the 14th, and it's going to be. I'm not an emotional bloke generally, but I think it's going to be an emotional experience to go back after the period out of the game. I think we're probably all feeling a little bit like that, I dare say. Just looking at the Millwall news today, I see that the QPR game is now sold out, the away section, 2,000 odd tickets sold. And I know tickets are selling well for the Caribou Cup game against Pompey. And I think there's going to be a real hunger for is it football or is it normality? It's a good question, really, as to whether we're all hungry for normality again. I think we've all watched the same news over the last, year and a half. The same. There are many views on the rights and wrongs of COVID, and I'm not going to get involved in any of that. I've got my views, you've got your views, and I respect both ways. But I think there is a general desire to get back to something like a normal life again, a life that's worth living rather than maybe existing. There's a difference, isn't there, dear listeners? So yeah, I'm looking forward to. I mean, expectations for the season. I don't know. I mean, I've been a Mill fan for 50 years. Next April will be my 50th anniversary as a Mill fan. This is quite a thought. So I've been around long enough, probably like one or two of you listeners out there, to know that the enemy of hope is expectation. I never expect anything out of a Millwall season, other than the fact that we are still here in a year's time, hopefully in 5 years' time, hopefully in 10, and so on. We've all had our personal trials. I've had my own bit of trouble recently, which I don't know if it's changed my view on life. I know I do appreciate the mundane ordinariness of regular life. It's easily gone. We're fragile creatures, all of us, no matter how strong we think we are. I know that much. And suddenly you get a glimpse that you can be gone in a flash. So I think what it's done for me this past year and a half is reinforce my appreciation of the ordinary. Now, whether that's going to include yet another defensive football season of Gary Rowett style defending at home, I'm not going to go anywhere else. Where else are going to be on a Saturday afternoon? But it will strain my relationships with the manager if it does turn into that kind of football. But that said, we are all. I think the club the club could do with some success, dear listeners. Now, if we defend our way to some success, whether that's via the playoffs or I guess that's going to be the most likely route for us. It'd be an extreme season that took us into the top two, but who knows? We've done that before. But let's talk about the playoffs. If we defend our way into playoff football and then we have success from there, well, I'm not going to turn that away. So I think Gary Rowett is facing a big season. It will be 3 years, as Mike said in his piece. He's a manager that could do with some good times. He's had it pretty. He's had a little glimpse of what the Den can be when its blood is up and the energy is flowing and the football's reflecting the what the crowd bring to the occasion. It'd be lovely to get some of that back again. I really do wish Gary Rowett well. I think he's a genuine football man. He has his style. And I keep catching myself thinking, well, the Millwall style is what, up and at 'em and I don't know, like some kind of eternal version of Lee Gregory and Steve Morrison, bosh, bosh, bosh. But then I find myself questioning myself. This is the kind of thing that goes through my head, dear listeners, this kind of internal debate. Am I getting into a kind of there's a West Ham way type of idea? Is there a Millwall way? Well, no, there isn't, because we've never really achieved any level of success. And looking back at the past, as I do, you look back at the 88, 89 period, and that was successful. Harry's touched on it. He would love to see some success. It was before his time. I know it's before a lot of the listeners' time. I'm lucky and fortunate, like many others of my age group, to have seen us in the top flight. I would love for those younger fans that we have now that also support the club and do their bit to keep it going. I would love them to see us in the top flight, even if it is only for a brief period. The adrenaline ride, the rock and roll circus of Millwall playing Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, and so on, etc., will be something to behold. I was fortunate to see it for 2 seasons. Second season in the top flight was a bit of a damp squid. First season, especially for the the opening kind of 3 quarters, was an adrenaline ride like no other. I'd love to see the club get back to that. So I am hoping that Gary Rowett's defensive style of football. We saw some good passing moves in the clips that I saw of the Ipswich friendly last Saturday. I'm hoping that that's good enough to prevail and get us into have a shot at the big time. And what a wonderful end to the season that would be. My 50th season as a Millwall supporter to finish up with that level of success at the end of the season. I don't bring on this little show any particular insight into the comings and goings of the transfer world. That's not my scene, man, like the old swimming advert used to say. It's just not my scene, man. So, I've got no insight into the comings and goings. I've got nothing new to add to the squad analyses that we've done and others have done over recent weeks. All I'm bringing really is kind of a personal sense, like everyone listening to this show will bring their personal sense of return to the den, return of football, return of normality, and let's hope for something special. I think if we get some special moments with something special at the end of the season, whether that means success or not, I don't know. Like I've said, let's hope for the best. It's been wonderful to be able to do this podcast since my return from ill health. I'm getting better. I'm certainly going to be at the home games, dear listeners. Might have to take a view on some of a lot of the away, to be honest. But I'll certainly be at the den. I'm looking forward to it. And the podcast will be continuing by hook or by crook. It'll be great if listeners can, especially for the away games, if you want to send me anything from any of your travels. I might have to edit some of it. You know what I mean, for legal reasons, etc. But if you want to send me anything, do get in touch. DM me on the Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to reach me. I'm on the Instagram now, and we're even putting this podcast out on YouTube now. The Acast site will have the revamp, and it gives you an option to post it to your YouTube account. So I do that. I don't know how many people actually listen to it on YouTube. I wouldn't do. Would you? I wouldn't do. But I listen to it if I'm doing something else, or a podcast rather. I'm doing something else. But anyway, it goes on YouTube. I'm not looking to change it. I'm not looking to become something that it's not already. It's intended to be a reflection of my take on being a Millwall fan. That's what we'll continue to do with all of our different voices, and that's the essence of a club. It has a wide range of views and opinions and voices, and that's what we're going to try and capture a little bit on this show. So really appreciate you listening to it. All of our profits, as you know, go to support the wonderful, wonderful Lions Food Home. That will continue over the season ahead. I want to try and do as much as I can to give that some support. I had 1 or 2 ideas for the summertime, but other things got in the way. But certainly the financial support that we hope to continue to be able to offering to the Lions Food Up, I know is appreciated. I know Kelly sends me messages to say she really appreciates it, and I know that's genuine. So by listening to our show, even if you like or don't like 1 or 2 voices, me included, I don't know, whatever way you look at it, you're doing some good by having a listen to our show. The takings go to charity, and that's the way it will always be on Achtung Millwall. So anyway, this was a little addendum. I've waffled. I've rambled. I hope I've made some sense. It was all completely off the top of my head. Big thank you to Harry and to Mike for sending in the pieces, and I'm just happy to be able to put them out there. So there we are. That's enough of the addendum. We'll be back with another show. I'm doing a Millwall history show with Neil Fissler. I hope to record that tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get that out later this week. But until the 14th of August, dear listeners, it's Arrivederci Mill from me, Nick Hart. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Until Blackburn, bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.